For most people, sexual and specifically pornography addiction is hard to break because it's usually doing more than just one job at the same time. It's not just about desire, it's often about escape, comfort, control, and relief. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the model I use to understand sexual addiction and how real healing begins. I'm Eddie Trauber. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with over 30 years of experience in working with people dealing with sexual and porn addiction. I've counseled literally thousands of Christian men and women whose lives are plagued by this addiction. Let me share with you a little about what makes this such a difficult issue to overcome, and also some of how I go about helping my clients to find true freedom from these issues. What I've found in all the years that I've spent working with people with these issues is that specifically porn and sexual addiction issues and a huge variety of other addictions have at the core the same issue driving them, and that is some form of stress. Stress happens, and in 12-step programs, they use the acronym HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Those are 4 big emotional triggers, okay? And when stress happens for the addict, what they choose to do is to escape by acting out. And that can be through any number of things. It could be through viewing pornography. It could be through sexual fantasy. It could be through going out and connecting with a prostitute or picking someone up anonymously. Other addictions handle acting out in very much the same way. Stress happens, and so I'm going to go get drunk. I'm going to smoke some pot. I'm going to go shopping even though I don't have money to. And after acting out, the thing that follows is shame. Statements like, I'm so stupid, why did I do this again? I'm never going to do that ever again. That was the last time. And all that shame just serves to feed right back into the stress, which only causes the person's stress level to stay continually high because they're never really dealing with the problem. Now, the other aspect of this that helps keep driving it is that every step along the way is what I call emotional isolation. And that means in order to live in this cycle, I have to isolate myself in 3 different ways. Number 1, I've got to push everybody else and everything else out of my emotional circle. I don't want to have conversations with my spouse, my accountability partners, my friends. I don't want to talk about what's really going on here, and so I just push them out. Secondly, I don't even want to acknowledge how I'm feeling about it myself. And so I emotionally disconnect. And I don't want to acknowledge these things, so I don't feel them, I don't think about them, I ignore them, and that gets me into a headspace, into a place where I can choose to go act out without thinking about consequences in the moment. And then thirdly, from a Christian standpoint, I sure don't want to think about what God has to say about this or how he views it, because I know what he's going to say, and he's going to say, don't do that, trust me. And so I've got to push him outside of that circle as well. So I get in this emotionally isolated bubble where I can choose to act out and not have to deal with repercussions in the moment. That is the basic model for addiction, or that is the basic model for acting out with pornography or sexual addiction. Now, the flip side of this, the healthy way, is there's stress, and so I'm going to deal with the problem. Rather than stick my head in the sand and run away from it or choose to act out, I'm going to effectively come up with a plan, a strategy, and I'm going to deal with whatever the problem is. And we'll talk more about that in a second. And that's going to lead me to a place of peace because I chose to deal with my problems. I didn't run away from it. I made good choices. And now I don't have additional consequences to go along with my earlier stress. Now, the tough part is that we live in a fallen world, and there's always going to be stress that shows up in our lives. The difference is down here, I'm not compounding that stress, right? New stressors are going to happen ongoing in our lives, but up here, I'm just kicking the can a little further down the road, and I'm still going to have to deal with the problem, Whereas down here, I'm dealing with the problem. I have peace. Another stress shows up in my life, but because of this, my stress level stays lower rather than high. So over here, I'm going to have new stressors show up, but my stress level is going to stay continually low rather than just piling things on top of the other up here on the top. Now, in order to do this, instead of isolating, I have to stay emotionally connected. And that means, first of all, I need to identify what I'm feeling. I need to face those, and I need to react in healthy ways. And so rather than push my feelings out, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to acknowledge it. I may journal about it. I may talk with other people about it. That's the second one. I'm going to stay emotionally connected to my peer group. So friends, accountability partner, spouse, anybody that can help me sponsor in this area, I'm going to stay emotionally connected to them and be transparent with them. And then thirdly, because this is faith-based, I'm going to stay emotionally connected and transparent in my relationship with God. And that is what keeps you on the cycle down here rather than checking out. So ultimately up here, this is about self-will and doing what I want. And down here, this is really about submission to God's will and pursuing how He wants me to live. Now, in recovery, what we typically do is we begin by taking each one of these things and breaking them down and spending time looking at them and how you're dealing with them or not dealing with them, and reevaluating choices that you make, sometimes on a weekly basis, depending upon where you're at in the cycle. So like we would spend time talking about, what are your stressors? What emotional triggers do you have in your life? And what are healthy ways to deal with that? Okay. Then we'd spend some time talking about this decision point right here, because that's where the decision to act out or not really takes place. Am I going to go down this path, or am I going to make a better choice? Okay. We'll talk about emotional connections and isolation. Who are you talking to? Who are you spending time with? Who are you being vulnerable and transparent with? Or did you push everybody out this week and just try to ignore them and not ask for help? Then we're going to specifically look at your acting out instances. And does it involve other people? Is it self-destructive? Is it harmful in any way to you? And what other options did you have? What could you have done instead of acting out this week? Then we're definitely going to look at a lot at shame and the role that plays, because that really is kind of like rocket fuel in this whole cycle. You dump shame in there and it just intensifies self-hatred and self-disgust, and that drives you back down here to stress and makes you want to escape again. And so instead, we're going to find out, what are healthy ways that you can deal with whatever the problem is, that immediate stressor? What could you be doing to cope with that in a healthy way? And then let's talk about what peace looks like in your life. And sometimes people can't handle that and they sabotage. They self-sabotage because I've never known what it's like to have a peaceful life. And so they choose to go act out in order to avoid that. So this is a basic model, very basic. There are a lot of other models out there to deal with addictions. Some have a lot more information on them, some have a lot less. This is just what I found to be very helpful for the clients that I work with. So I hope this is helpful for you. In future videos, we're going to break down and look at different aspects of this, kind of like we talked about a few minutes ago, and hopefully give you some more information that can help you in your journey. See you next time.